Magu Ziansho divine marijuana brings immortality. Let me turn this music down. Better. Now I'm going to beat my gong. The purpose behind the beating of the gong, at least, well, actually, the same idea is in all cultures, but this gong specifically is a Chinese thing. Whereas, like, if you look at a kung fu movie and then you see guys who's doing a kung fu performance outside, they use the gong to catch the attention of the passers-by. Thus, I use the gong in the same manner. Wake up and pay attention to what I'm about to say, because this is Magu Gong Fu Yoga, or divine cannabis Kung Fu Yoga. An introduction. I don't trust the music, so I'm going to shut it down. Yeah, because, I'll be talking and then all of a sudden it go to commercial and then I got to stop anyway. So, opening was enough. Anyway, let me get on because I'm already 5 minutes. Time flies when you're doing this. So, I want to introduce you to Cannabis Kung Fu Yoga, because that's the name on the doggone channel. Now, let me try to get through this without taking up a bunch of time. What you're looking at behind me is the form of Cannabis Kung Fu Yoga. Now, there's only one form, and I call it the form of no form, because when you're beginning, you learn the form, and once you know the form, you don't have to do it in that order anymore, so it becomes a form of no form. I'll get into that in a minute. What I really wanted to do was explain the bases of the Kung Fu, period. What is the basis of Cannabis Kung Fu? So from the title, most people that come here probably think, oh man, we're going to learn how to smoke and to kick butt like I'm high, dude. Okay, you want to fight? No. It's not about that. let's get to what it's about. Well, first of all, let me say some of these things. Now, everything that I'm going to be teaching on this channel is coming from the Tao, T.A.O or D.A.O. So, this is one of my favorite chapters from the Tao Te Ching, or the book or classic of the way of virtue, or the way of virtuous power. Tao Te Ching, chapter 28. Know the white, yet keep to the black. I wonder why I like that one so much. And then we have our motto, which, I don't know, did I make that up? I think I kind of put it together with something I was taught by my boxing coach. But anyway, the motto is from the streets, for the streets, fighting for a better way of life. Okay, so right quick, what that means, from the streets, because I grew up in the Bronx, and I done lived in shelters, and I ain't got no teeth, so I look like I'm street. You know, everything I do is from the streets. I've been knocked down, beat up, hit in the head with monkey wrenches, all kinds of shit. I'm from the street. So the martial art that I'm teaching, Cannabis Kung Fu, is for the street. It's not about, oh, I am moving in a peaceful Tai Chi manner. Let me say before I forget, I've changed the name into Ma Gu Gong Fu or Kung Fu Yoga, from Tai Chi Bo Kung Fu Yoga, because I wanted to change the name. So, from the streets, meaning I'm from the streets, and that's where this martial art comes from. For the streets, meaning that it's, if you in the hood or not, if you walk the street and somebody attacks you, this is for the street. And then fighting for a better way of life, we're going to get into in a minute. What that basically goes into is like, this is not just a kung fu school or martial arts school, and you're going to come and you're going to learn martial art for 20 years. This is also about getting into a new business for yourself, either a business or a career. Because I started out, when I first started teaching, I was teaching for other companies, and or teaching private, teaching people for other companies, making like $25 an hour. This is when Tai Chi first came out. And then, so I had a little career going, and I didn't push it, but obviously. But, and then I'm like, wow, it could be a business also. So you got both of those. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. So, the second thing I wanted to read is what's called the Scripture of Infinite Harmony. Now, what that is what I'm trying to get across right now is that none of this stuff I made up. What's innovative, if anything, that I have done is to take the the way of infinite harmony, take the boxing that I learned, take the Tai Chi that I learned, and then combine them in a whole new, like, this is a whole new Kung Fu. There's nobody on earth, unless they really, like, in my brain somewhere, there's nobody on earth that has this system. None. Zip. Zero. Nada. Everything is Not new, it's old stuff just put together in a new way. So I'm going to get into all that. So why I'm saying that, because the scripture of infinite harmony comes from the book that talks about Margu. This is basically the Bible of 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 the clan of Margu. So the scripture goes, the goddess, or divinity we say, the goddess does dwell within the plant coterminous, which means we're not worshiping some being that's a divinity or goddess, a real being, but at the same time, if it's an energy of the plant, it does have a certain, everything that's living has a certain consciousness, so it's kind of both. The goddess does dwell within the plant coterminous, one and the same being. The goddess plant and her, it's always a she. The marijuana is always a female in different cultures. The goddess plant and her transformative properties, because in this system, or in the Margu part, we're going to be talking about immortality. I'm going to get into that in a minute. The goddess plant and her transformative properties. Upon ingestion of the plant as food, smoke, or extracted chemical, there is a mystical union with the princess. They also call her the princess. Margot is the divinity, the goddess, or the princess of cannabis. Margot. In this most sacred and holy state, and this is what I'm trying to get across, that this is not just, yo, dude, I'm smoking and getting high. No, this plant is about connecting us to higher, pun intended or not intended. This plant is about getting us into higher levels of being. In this most sacred and holy state, the devotee can discover the true nature of the world and the true nature of self. Now that's a lot to be said for a plant, but it gets deeper. Now, I've talked about that. Let me start explaining. So first of all, the origin of this, I say Gong Fu to give respect to my teacher, Grandmaster Leong Shum, because he's from Canton, or he's Cantonese, like Bruce Lee. There's a lot of, and when instead of Kung Fu with the K, they say Gong Fu. So I say, but commercially on the page, I'm putting Kung Fu so people know what the heaven I'm talking about. Anyway, oh my goodness. Now, the like parent company is called the T.A.O, or the art of networking. T.A.O Net. That's another channel, and that's going to be like the parent company that I'm doing business as. But this Kung Fu, is so much stuff in this Kung Fu. I felt it needed its. I felt that it needed its own channel so I can talk about this, because I'm kind of proud of this. I really put a real. This is real. It's not, oh, get high, dude. This is real Kung Fu. It's based on real Kung Fu. So, what is it based on? The first thing is, like I said, the way of infinite harmony is not something that I made up. Here we go. This is the book. And that's it. That's it. It's not like the Bible. It's not all thick like that. But I guess you can consider this book as the religious book of our clan, the clan of Margu practitioners, or people who use the holy herb. So as you can see, it's called The Way of Infinite Harmony. Now I put this picture here because she looked more like me than the Chinese pictures they have of Margu. So, but that for me is a picture of Margu. Ooh, she's kind of fine. If I was a picture boy. And this is the book about the way of infinite harmony. So, you know, when I'm saying that this is based, or what I'm teaching is based on something, I didn't make this up. So here go the book. That's going to be the main book besides the Tao books. I'm gonna get into that on another video. So the next book that we're going to get into in this system actually deals with, what did I say? From the streets for the streets. This is the part about fighting for a better way of life. So now when you take this Kung Fu, when you take my Kung Fu, Cannabis Kung Fu, it's not about taking this Kung Fu for 20 years and maybe I will allow you to open up a school. You don't have to, but in 10 months you can be certified to teach this form. 10 months, because there's a lot of stuff to this. There's weapons. We have specific weapons that no other Kung Fu have, da 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 da. So that's one side of the business, that you can be that you can be certified. I do have a church, and it is registered with the IRS, all that. I'm legal. So I can certify you to become a consultant instructor. You can, so if you study this and you get certified, you can either consult, just talk to people, or you can actually instruct people in the form. But there's more to it than the 10 months of training, so we'll talk about all that. But the next part is the business side. So besides being a consultant instructor, part of our Cannabis Kung Fu Yoga is getting into the CBD and hemp seed oil. There's two different things. CBD is for like anxiety and pain and all that type of stuff, and it's nutritious also. But hemp seed oil is for nutrition. It's considered a superfood. So I'm showing this book because I'm showing it to represent that, there's like 4 books like this. And we're going to learn how to make marijuana infused. Ooh. Lotions, massage oils, ointments, bath salts, spa nush, whatever the heaven that is, a spa nush. Ooh, that sounds kind of sexy. Ooh, nush me, baby. Anyway, so that's the business. This is also about business. But the Kung Fu side is about your physical health, strength, endurance, energy, all that. Kung Fu is all that. It ain't just, I know how to punch you in the face. You understand? That's like self-defense. I can learn how to punch you in the face like really, really fast and really, really good, and don't know nothing about the health of my body. I can just learn how to punch really good. You understand? Kung Fu is all that. So what's next? Now what's next is the health side. Dagnabbit, I didn't bring so so well I don't have to show you that, I can talk about it. I have the Rick Simpson formula. Now if you're not familiar with that, the Rick Simpson formula is taking marijuana, not hemp, marijuana with the THC, all that, and taking a bunch of it, like a bunch like this, and then cooking it down to it's just a little vial, like about like that, right? And this stuff is curing cancer. What? When I started teaching, you couldn't even say curing. You couldn't even say medicine. You couldn't say like, well, my Tai Chi. I did it. I lived it. I'm not just talking because of shit that I read. I tried to put a fly out one time in Virginia, and the lady was the place I tried to teach. The lady was like, "You can't say healing in Virginia because it's run by hospitals." But now that we have this cannabis, that we have marijuana, that we can grow at home and make our own medicine. So that's the third book. We're gonna get into. I don't like the title because I don't call the holy herb weed, but we're going to get into, this is a doctor and she talks about how we can use cannabis for different health problems. A 4-step plan to prevent and reverse endocannabinoid deficiency. Now that's what we're starting, well not starting, it's old now, but what we learned from them studying cannabis is that the endocannabinoid system in your body is the system that balances all the other systems of your body, which fits in with doing this kung fu stuff, because it's based on yin and yang, and that is what about balance, straight up and down. Stuff is dropping out the book. What's next? Trying to get through this. I'm already at 20 minutes. God dang, never time just be flying. So the other side of that is that the people who become certified, even if you don't have to get certified now. You can take this system and just pay me. God dang, never. I don't have to certify you, because if you're gonna get certified, you gotta send me videos. I gotta see that you know this stuff. I'm not going. Oh yeah, okay. You took the you know the form. Okay, you certified. No. You're gonna be representing me and my, or I Ching Tao Temple, the way of infinite harmony. All that. Nobody else on earth is doing that. So you're going to be those of you who take this is going to be exclusive. Nobody, none, zip, zero, nada. So the other side of the health stuff is being able to diagnose and help people who have symptoms of cannabis disorder. Oh yeah, this herb it's not a drug, but you can overdo any herb, like ginseng. When ginseng was like big, people just stuffing a whole bunch of ginseng because you're supposed to get energy. And I can bet you can go find those people, and they was like bouncing off the walls. It's too much. It's an herb. You use it in moderation. Marijuana is no different. You just don't smoke. My oldest brother, used to smoke like an ounce every day. Every day? No. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but, do what you want to do. But this is not a book. well, it's a book now, but I downloaded most of this information from the internet on different cannabis disorders. There are people who smoke and they continue to smoke, but they have violent, throwing up and coughing, and but they continue to smoke. That's when it becomes a habit. It's like if I'm going through that, I'm like, this is not fun anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's time to stop. So I want to train people who are going to be experts in helping people with cannabis disorders. And it's not a disease. I forgot the other word. So, but we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So, lastly, the last book that I'm going to show anyway. Now, this is Cannabis Kung Fu Yoga. So, we got to get into the laughing or joking, happy side also. You know what I'm saying? So, this book right here, the Tao, like I said, I don't like to say weed, but in this case, I'm going to say the weed. The Tao of weed. Now, this book goes through all of the 81 chapters of the Tao Te Ching, or Tao Te Ching, but in a humorous manner, like, dude. They do a lot of dude. I'm going to rewrite this book. I'm going to rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite it, the book, boy. I'm going to church. I'm not supposed to. I'm in the Tao. I am not going to church. So, but we're going to get into something, laugh. This is the difficult part. The Kung Fu side of this is about discipline and, focus and, doing the same thing repeatedly. But the cannabis side of it is about, I don't want control. I don't want nobody controlling me, telling me what to do, telling me how to smoke, da 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 da. I'm not going to be trying to tell you what to do, how to do. I'm going to be explaining what cannabis kung fu does. We use the bong. Now this is what I call the war bong. So going a little bit into the history of how I started cannabis kung fu, this was my war bong. This was my, I'm calling it a bong right now, but we call it a chalice in the system. This was my war chalice. But back when it was gifted to me, the brother that made it, creep ass mother, the brother that, I'm going to call him brother, that made it, gave it to me. And, we was like deep into it. We had a whole etiquette of how to smoke and, how to have a setup, a cup so you could cough and something to wipe him. The whole nine. We was taking stuff out the Bible, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to get into all that later. But, in doing that, I started holding it. We used to carry these with us. We had side bags. We have our chalice with us. For real. I got videos. I'm going to put them on another time because they old. But anyway, I'm holding this chalice, and after a while, I'm like, well, damn, I'm holding it like this. When we just sitting around talking to each other, I'm holding, and we outside or whatever, I'm just holding it. So I noticed that I'm holding it a certain way. When I'm holding it, I'm making a specific type of hand. When I smoke it, I grab the. Now I did have a different fist, but I'm not going to teach that fist because it's very dangerous. So I'm using this fist. I hold it like this to smoke it, right? So that's the fist. That's the first form, or the only form. So when you're smoking it, you also have to hold what's called the carburetor. So now I'm holding it, my thumb is here, and my fingers are on the bottom, and I'm holding it like so as I'm smoking, right? So that is the claw hand. Now I'm going to get into that because my teacher is the Grand Master of Eagle Claw Kung Fu. I learned the Wu style of Tai Chi. So the first hand is actually the highest form, the hand that I'm just sitting and holding the bong. You should sit and hold it, by our side like that. The palm is actually the highest hand that we use. Now the other hand, now when you see me at the beginning of the video when I did this, one hand I have like this, and one hand like this. I have to explain all this stuff. This represents Margu holding the tray, and this represents the container of the elixir of immortality, which I'm going to show in a minute. And then we do all that, which is like the formal way of introduction or whatever, all that stuff that I did at the beginning. But this here hand, these two hands, is part of the etiquette when I offer you my chalice, when I want to give you my chalice, baby. I don't have, like the fire part would be in here, and it would be sitting like that. So I don't hand it to you with the fire. I hand it to you pointed this way with the chalice sitting on my tray, and I'm holding the stem and like so. Remember the circle, and the three fingers is around here, and then I pass you, like when you see me at the last movement, I'm passing or offering the elixir of immortality to the immortals and sages and everybody at the banquet. Whew. So, what did I forget? The fist changes into water. Oh, I forgot water. So when you have to put water in your chalice, when you, in this particular chalice, when we grab the stem, you grab it with like with these fingers. So this is the water hand. So from the 5 different hands that I had to use to to work my chalice, I was like, wow, this is like the foundation of a kung fu. So within this chalice, I had all the 5 elements of the Tai Chi. We start out with earth. You're actually supposed to start out with 5, but we start out with earth. Earth changes into metal. Metal is the tray when I'm passing you the chalice. So metal turns into earth turns into metal. Metal turns into water. That's when we're pulling, getting ready to water our chalice. We have to pull out the stem. Water changes into wood. When you pour water on soil with seeds, you get plants or wood. Wood is the claw. Like I said, when I'm holding my bong, I'm holding it like thus to be able to smoke it. So the hand is like so. It becomes an eagle claw. Wood changes into fire. Now, if you look at my hand, the shape here, I'm using the palm. This is the highest hand in the form. So, unlike this hand, where the thumb is here, now I'll show you later that I'm holding a tray. This hand, the thumb is on the outside of the hand. So that is the 5 elements. So we have yin and yang, the 5 elements, and then we go into the 8 trigrams. Now, in the form, or in this Kung Fu, the 8 trigrams is actually at the top of this. I just call this the wall hanging. So way up here, there are eight movements. I call that the mother form. Okay, damn, I'm already at 30-something minutes. So I want to get through this introduction. So I introduced Margu so you can see that it's not something I made up. It's an actual clan of Taoism. I believe the northeast of China. Now, part of what I want to teach is also about the Shang or Shang dynasty, which was the original dynasty who came up with the I Ching, which I'm about to talk about. While I'm thinking about it, I have my hands wrapped because the system combines boxing with Tai Chi. It wasn't easy, so I had to leave some things out from boxing that didn't agree with the internal energy development, and I had to leave some things out of Tai Chi that didn't agree with, like the raising of the shoulders and the dropping of the head in boxing, because they're like, no, this is how you fight in Tai Chi. And you don't change that form. That's the rule. So, when I was talking about the tray, I'm going to have to say this. I'm going to say this maybe in every video that I do. Right now, since I don't have a lot of money, people who got money, everything is like a prototype. It's not the actual, because I have weapon ideas and things that are totally unique to this system. One of them is going to be the tray. So this is what I'm saying. This is how we would hold this tray. This tray would be one of the weapons of Cannabis Kung Fu, because this tray is actually going back to how Margu served the immortals. And we're going to get into the story, but she served the elixir of immortality. So on this side of the room, the Tao side, we're going to talk about the elixir of immortality. That's why on the tray I have a cup and it's chrome, but it's a gourd type of thing. So there is a similarity between this system and drunken style. But I want to make it clear that in this system we don't drink the elixir of immortality or smoke some herb and then fight like we're high off of the herb. Like in drunken style, you drink some alcohol and then you fight like you're drunk. So that's the biggest difference. Now the similarity is that we, in this system of Kung Fu, use an outside substance like alcohol which is the elixir of immortality, as part of our kung fu. Not it's part of the foundation, but it's not the foundation. The foundation is the Tao. Okay, this is part of the foundation because it'll get into the business and I look around, go on the internet, check it out. There is nobody that'll teach you about the actual how to make actual elixir of immortality. Now, this gourd here is also we also use it for fighting. So, but this cheap thing here, I'm not, and I don't have the space anyway. I'm not going to get like into it. It's like we can swing it and knock you in the head and all kind of stuff like that. And this one is made out. You seen what happened to the coconut one. You can't use a coconut for fighting. But then I found this not too long ago. I'm like, well, we're really talking about the elixir of immortality as opposed, which uses the marijuana. Let me get that in there. So it's not this clan of Taoists uses the cannabis, not just the marijuana, but also the hemp, as a way to achieve everlasting life. And I know what I'm saying when I say that. I'm not joking. And I'm not just making up some shit from stories. So now, that's the Margoo stuff. Let me get to the other side. The real foundation of the form that you're looking at behind me. The form that you're looking at behind me I call I Ching Chuan. Okay, so the name of this side of the temple, the house, is called I Ching Tao, Temple of the Way of Infinite Harmony. Now, so I'm teaching several different, or at least 4 or 5 different systems which come out of the Tao. The Kung Fu is just one of them. I'll get into the other ones on another video. So the foundation of, no church, Bates. I'm not a church. The foundation of the I Ching Chuan, which means Ching, which is in the middle, means a classic. Not just, it means a book, but it means a classic, not just any old book you read. It's a classic. There is no other book on earth like the I Ching. There is no other book on earth like the I Ching. None, zip, zero, nada. Well, okay, I have to retract that right now because it is said that the I Ching actually comes from the Ifa. So we have to study that. The Ifa, the lines go this way, where the I Ching lines go that way. But the I Ching book that I use is also my teacher. I call him my teacher now. In the other side of the room, which is the ancient Kemetic or Egyptian spirituality. But he also wrote a book on I Ching, which just happened to be that he's into the ancient Kemetic spirituality, but he's also into the Taoist stuff. So I'm like, well, shit, that fits me right perfect. And I mean, he's talking stuff that's like, I'm catching up. But this is his book on I Ching. This is my temple symbol that I designed. The yin and yang on the ankh with the plant. Now that plant has all the different things. It's the hemp plant, so it has all the different, not all, but it has some of the different things that hemp can do. And then I have the I Ching trigrams around there. So it's kind of mixing the ancient Egyptian spirituality with the practices of Tao. So this is the I Ching that I use because he's coming from a more I'm from Harlem like him type thing, you understand? So he has some different things in here that kind of fits the brothers and the sisters, you understand? So I use this I Ching. Now the I Ching is a lot of things. One of the things that it is used for is called divination. It has nothing to do with the devil. Divination means divine or divinity nations. So it's not like the tarot, which be like, oh, you're going to have good fortune or you're going to have bad fortune. When you do this stuff, you got to be ready to make a change in your life. This book is going to tell you, well, will you be like, I want to get married because I'm in love, but she doesn't love me. Well, this book is going to be like, well, dude, you are the one that's not doing such and such. Or it's going to tell you, well, dude, this energy is not, this is not the time for you to be getting married. It's the time for you to be chilling or whatever. You know, it's going to tell you what's going on in the time. Now, this is where we really get deep. There are 64 hexagrams in the I Ching. A hexagram is two of these put together, like here. You have the upper trigram and you have the lower trigram. Now, when you put them together, those 8 forms that I just showed you is based on the Tai Chi upper 8 trigrams. But they didn't put the lower trigrams in the legs. I did that because they had the 5 elements, which I put into the hands, which I just showed you. I took it out of the legs and put 8 trigrams in the legs. So that's where I get those 8 forms I showed you at the top. It's just 8 forms. But when you combine them all together, you get 64 forms. Just like in the I Ching, you have 64 hexagrams. Now, here's the really deep stuff, because about a year or so ago I found out, well, I already knew about it because that's this chart. You can't really see it. I knew about how they took the I Ching and was like, well, there's a comparison between the I Ching and DNA. But I didn't know that there are people like doing whole books. This is a book on DNA and the I Ching and how the two of them are the very same, well, basically the same thing. It's like, okay, think about this for a second. When these brothers, who they say DNA comes from ancient Kemet, Egypt, who started the Shang dynasty and created the I Ching, they didn't have science school, but they developed this system that that people call the I Ching. It's a different name. Now this guy is a scientist. Oh, his name. What's his name? He don't have his name. Where your name, dude? Oh, there you go. Johnson F. Yan. And he is not the only one. He created this little cube thing. Now this thing has all of the hexagrams and it has the codes for each matching DNA. Why is that important? Because in this form, which I based on the 64 hexagrams, I believe by doing this form, you can actually get into your DNA and actually change or even wipe out um, ancient or old trauma. Why am I saying that? Because the science now is telling us that it is trauma trapped in your DNA, which is the actual cause. Like, for instance, with so called black people, it's like we done had some of the greatest teachers on earth. My teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, the greatest teacher that I know of. Nobody, never, ever in the life of ever taught us the stuff that he taught. If you don't know about him, then that's your fault. But anyway, we've had all these great teachers, but as soon as these teachers are gone or taken away or killed, it's like everybody go back. Elijah Muhammad, Mal, what they call Malcolm X, Shabazz El or Malik El Shabazz, Malcolm X, um, my teacher, and even Martin Luther King. These are great teachers, but as soon as they are gone or die or get killed, everybody fall right back into the same old bush. Everybody, it might be a remnant. Like even after one of the greatest, or probably the greatest person that well, I say the greatest, he was the greatest of gathering people who was ready to get us out of here. He's like, let's go. I got the chips. Marcus Garvey. He's like, he had the biggest following ever in America as a so-called black man. But after they framed him and all that stuff, everybody, and why I mention them, because they have a remnant of people who I'm a Marcus Garveyite, or that stick with it. But I believe that the idea of trying to get the masses of people into an idea is to get the masses into an idea. Not when I die, you'll just fall, or the masses of people fall right back into the same old shit. Why am I saying that? Because what I'm believing is now, from the little bit of studies that I'm doing on the new science about DNA and all that type of stuff, is that the trauma, like from slavery for 400 years. When I was in the Marine Corps, if I went to war, I go to war for 1 or 2 years. I come back, I got all kind of drugs, all kind of psychologists, all kind of people talking about, well, you're not crazy. We've been in war for 400 or 500 more years here in America. Where is the psychological help? Where is the help, period, with 400 years of war? You got one sister, LaGrue, she talks about um, uh, post-traumatic slave. I don't know if she uses disorder, post-traumatic slave disorder, something. But she's one of the only, and she's a trained psychologist, so it's kind of like, Dr. Umar Johnson. We have one or two people who are trained with with they stuff, and then come back to the hood, be like, yo, this is what's going on with our people. It's very few, very few. And they putting themselves out there telling us, people who are not listening. So, like I said, what I believe is that you have to be able to do something to get the trauma. It's like when I took Tai Chi, I had all kind of health problems. But just from doing Tai Chi, a lot of those health problems, and I'm 68 years old now. I'll be 68 in a minute. And then the people that I was teaching, they were older than me when I was teaching. They had serious health problems. They was in their 60s and stuff. I mean, scoliosis of the spine and diabetes and stuff. And back then, all I knew was the Tai Chi, and that's all I was teaching. But I was putting them through the mill, breathing, martial art, the form, da 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 da. And they was getting healed. The lady that had scoliosis in 2 years, she was walking straight. I didn't know about diet. I didn't know about all these other things that I'm going to be talking about on these videos. All I knew was Tai Chi. In 2 years, it took her a minute, but in 2 years, she was straight. She came to class and she had me come down and teach her on her job privately. That's why I'm talking about I know there could be a career or a business doing this stuff. I'm not just talking. What's next? Well, that's pretty much it, you know. I use these coins when I do the divination, when you tell somebody what's going on with their energy. Usually they use coins like 3 coins that have little Chinese coins. I use these coins because they are the 12 zodiac signs. So I use one with my sign. I use one with the sign of the person, and then I use a neutral. So I'm already getting an hour. Let me talk about the form. Oh, one thing. It's so much. That's what I'm saying. This needed its own channel just to talk about. One part of the business, I'm going to have different hemp seed for nutrition. We're going to have different hemp seed, different formulas. Hemp seed and coconut for your skin and hair. Hemp seed and not aloe vera. Hemp seed and olive oil for dry patches or different skin ailments. And then straight hemp seed just to eat for nutrition. But the specialty as far as business is going to be concerned is going to be this little bottle right here. Now I found 2 people who are kind of doing the same thing, and I say kind of. And what that is, what I just showed you, is the hemp seed. You might can see it in there, the hemp seed oil, mixed with Chinese tonic herbs. Now, Chinese tonic herbs, I think the word is apigen. It is part of the elixir of immortality. This is only missing a couple of ingredients that would make it an elixir. But one thing we're going to be selling that is going to be unique is mixing not CBD. Well, we can do CBD too. But this right here is hemp seed oil. Hemp seed oil is specifically nutrition, either for your skin, hair, or you can drink it. This little tiny bottle, you take a spoonful or whatever. But anyway, you understand? So that's going to be a specialty. Like I said, there may be 2 other people that I found doing my research that use Chinese herbal formulas mixed with CBD oil, not hemp seed oil. And a little bottle in this is $100. And they don't have the background that I have. They are not kung fu dudes. You understand? I'm kung fu dude. I have the background. I have the training. I am kung fu dude. I'm going to show all that stuff later in other videos. I am kung fu dude. Kung fu dude. So, let's talk about kung fu. So I already showed you the top. The top is the 8, what I call the mother forms. Let me pull out my laser beam. Now, in the beginning of the form, right here, that's when you bow. Now, as I said, the form is a form of no form. Now, I have to say right quick that I based this, I'm a Bruce Lee era guy. I came up when Bruce Lee was coming out. So, this is kind of loosely based on Jeet Kune Do concepts. So, why I'm saying that, because you have a form. Bruce Lee had to learn the wing, even though it might be short and just a few forms, he had to learn a form before he started getting into freestyling. So here, in my studies, I found it was easier to do a form. When you do a movement over and over again, not only is it easier to remember, what I found doing the Tai Chi is after a while, it was like, I go to do a move and it was like something would take my hand and actually move it in that direction. I was like, oh shit, what the fuck? So anyway, after you learn this form, then you can do it freestyle. So what this is a wall chart that you will be able to purchase from me. You understand? This is a prototype. This is not the actual chart. This is going to be put in a museum when I start making the actual chart. But anyway, so each of those pictures will be cards, and then the wall hanging thing will all these will be pockets where you can take the picture and you can switch around the form. You hang it on your wall, and you just follow whatever form you make up, or follow this form, whatever. But it's right there in front of you, so you don't have to go to the book and try to, oh, let me do this form, okay, and then go back to the book. It's right there, hanging on the wall. You might have to put a couple of screws in the wall if you don't like to work. Anyway, now on the bottom here, now this is the form stops on this line right here. This is the last, I think, 16 movements of the form. And then right there is, the last bow. So we have the first bow, God dang it, and then 16, 16, 16, and 16 movements. And like I said, each one of those movements actually matches up with one of the hexagrams of the I Ching. Now, on the bottom here, this line here is just a freestyle that I did with this chalice before it started looking like this. Oh, let me say, one of the weapons, see, I weaponized this. One of the weapons is the flame. See how it's shaped like I shaped the hand? See, this would go in the stem, and then you can use it like a knife. I'm going to get into that when I figure it out. So anyway, so that's these here. It's not an actual form. It was just some movements I did with the chalice. But this down here is actually a part of the form. Now, after I developed the form, I found out about Chinese astrology. So I'm studying Chinese astrology. I'm like, wait a minute. The 12 zodiac signs of the Chinese astrology come from, or match it, I believe it comes from, the I Ching, or the 12. These are 12 of the movements taken out of the I Ching. So I had them in red, like this is ox. The first two, here's the first, is that the first one? Snake. That's right there. So that's right there. And then the second one, pig, is at the end. So there's ox, is down here somewhere. So throughout the form is the 12 zodiacs. So I took those out and I created another system. I really have to put it together because I have the zodiac book where you do mudras and do asanas sitting, but I'm adding the standing um, static postures. So now we already have static, which means no movement. We're not doing none of this stuff. We have static postures in Kung Fu already. But these postures here, once I put them together, I realized that what they do is you take on a specific form and then stand in that form, and you open up the specific channels in your body that is connected to specific star systems. Yeah, when you smoke herb, you just get like, oh man, I'm gonna get deep. I didn't make anything up. It's just that I put some things, some different things together. I didn't make these. Well, I made the form. I made the movements. I didn't make the upper because that was Tai Chi, but I took the bottom leg forms from different systems. So I didn't make anything up. I didn't say, well, this is the new way of punching. I didn't make that up. That's the way we punch in certain. So that's about it. But I want you to know that this form can, in different systems, you have different forms. Like when I studied Tai Chi, we had the Wu style is the slowest moving form of all the 5 major styles. So when we did tournaments, they gave us an extra minute. They was like, these motherfuckers is moving slow. Let's give them a minute. So we moving like this. So the judges is like, okay, you good. So we like, this is how you move in Wu style Tai Chi. Now, not only is it the slowest form, it's the longest form. My form, doing it that slow, was 45 minutes. Yeah. 45 minutes. That is mental, that is spiritual, that is physical. 45 minutes of moving like this. And you can't cheat. You can't be like, oh, I want to get here. No, you do the whole form. You got to remember every move. Okay, it's now time to move my foot. Or my hands, my fingers should be together and I should have the open. You got to remember, it's a memory exercise. It's a patient exercise. So why I'm saying that is because this one form, the other thing is we had that slow form, and then we had what's called the fast form, which was 15 minutes. Now the fast form, which I don't like, had different movements than the slow form. So now you got to learn a new form. It's different. Some of the little movements and stuff was different, but it's called the connecting form. So instead of me going slow and stopping, going slow and stopping, everything is connected. So we call that the fast form. So why I'm saying that, because this form, we're going to have modes. You can do it slow like Tai Chi. We need to do fast movements even with a partner, so we are practicing for the streets, the martial arts. We can do it what's called dynamic tension. In other words, it's a slow type of movement, but as you're punching, the arm is tense. So you're developing the strength and you're developing the muscles. So, and there's other modes of movement. So that's just 3. You can do it slow with breathing like Tai Chi. You can do it fast like regular boxing. Or you can do it with dynamic tension. Like karate. or you can just do it like happily, like, wow, I am going through the whole 68 movements of DNA. I'm reaching my DNA and changing. I also call it the DNA changing fist. So lastly, let me explain. Did I explain what the see, I'm combining, like I said, I didn't make nothing new basically. The foundation is boxing. I learned um, Olympic boxing from Coach Samaj Floyd in Atlanta, Georgia. But the boxing that I'm going to be incorporating is called Jailhouse Rock, that I learned as a young man. Now it's being called 52 Blocks. But that has specific moves that, well, that you know that is the style of Jailhouse Rock or 52 Blocks. And I'll go over the purpose of doing all these moves and stuff. The other foundation of this Kung Fu is the Tai Chi. Um, um, the concept is based on Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do. The weapons are all based on the stories of the eight immortals from the Taoist stories, but we're going to have our own weapon system. All the weapons that I want to us to make ourselves will be called legal or street legal weapons. That's going to be a whole video by itself. So what I'm saying here is I put different stuff together. It took me years. The, the original concept I had when I was living in New York. When I first started teaching Tai Chi, I'm starting to feel myself. I'm a Tai Chi teacher. So I'm like, I'm starting to have ideas. I'm like, well, we used to smoke joints before blunts. We used to smoke joints, and you smoke like this, or when it get like down to the tiny little roach, we call them roaches. You like these fingers closed, and you like you try not to burn your fingers. You understand? So I'm like, oh shit. The same thing with the chalice. I'm like, oh shit, this could be a kung fu hand. And I'm like, well, I can like poke you with these fingers or these fingers, and I can maybe grab your nerve or your vein and roll it like a, stupid shit. But I didn't develop it because in New York, especially at that time, the marijuana was like, oh, it's a drug. It's the worst thing on earth. You will die, and you won't never remember nothing. Blah 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 blah. So I didn't develop that until I came out here to California. I came out here to California. I was ready to start my church, and I was like, I'm going to give up the herb because from New York, I'm thinking this is a drug, blah, 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 blah. But when I get to California, I'm finding that stuff that I just showed you, the way of infinite harmony, and find out the ancient Egyptian or ancient Kemetic stuff on using this. The oldest medical book on earth from Kemet lists different ailments that can be cured using cannabis, which they call shimtu. So I'm like, most people don't even know the spiritual side. Y'all might have just heard of the medical side. We're going to get into the actual smoking for recreation, creation, but that's just a small part. The only thing I'm going to really get into is the way as a kung fu a healthy way of using the herb. So, that's over an hour. I think I've gone over the introduction. I believe this form can actually connect you deep, deep, deep to your DNA and change any trauma. It don't have to be slavery. You know, you may never had slavery in your family, so, but you might have had somebody beating your great great grandmother, and that trauma is passed down. That's the point. It's passed down. It's like, okay, I'm living a cool life now. I ain't got to worry about slavery. But it's passed down. It's biological. Biological. All right? Okay, so I have talked enough. This is an introduction to cannabis kung fu yoga. I'm going to start a 10-month training in which you or anyone that you bring with you, like bring as many people as you want, can become a certified, I have a church, a certified consultant instructor. We will have a unique and exclusive system of Kung Fu, but I also have other systems. I have a system called the Art of Life, which is about self-healing, which is based on my Taoist teachers' teachings. I have the book. I'm going to talk about it. Then I have another system which I called Taonomics. What I did was take some of my Taoist teachers' 8 directional exercises and match them up with Western wealth building strategies, 8 of them. I'm like, wow, it's 8 strategies. But people usually study, like, you go to learn about how to not have probate in court. That's just one class. But if you get all 8 of them together and match them with this health exercises, you got something totally different. All I did was match them together. I didn't make anything up. I told you about, I call this system Yo Gung, or Yoga Gung Fu. And I have to still kind of put that together. So I have another. Oh, the other thing that I will be teaching is not a system that I put together basically, but if you want to become a priest of this temple, you're going to be learning Tao alchemy, like the deep alchemy stuff, and basically Tao magic. So that'll be the priest or priestess certification course. And that'll be 12 months. That's straight 12 months. So, so besides that, like I said, we'll be getting into hemp, where you can start your own business in whatever state you're in, whatever city. You can start your own stuff. So that's the introduction. I'm going to end this video, and hopefully you're interested in cannabis kung fu yoga. I'll explain the raps on another video. I'll rap about the raps later. I'm out. Peace. Gotta put the dot on the dot. Peace.